were surprised by the polls after they got it so wrong in the 2019 federal election. But for this election, economist and data strategist Elisa Choy takes polling to a whole new level, replacing the traditional methods with artificial intelligence. So just who does she predict will move into the lodge? Elisa joins us now on the couch. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
You love your data and your numbers, don't you? It is totally your jam. And you've had some great success with this system. 7 of the 9 key states in the US 2020 election, along with 3 consecutive winners of The Voice. So it's far-reaching, wide-reaching. How does it actually work? Where do you get your data from and how do you crunch it?
Okay, so when we predict trends in market, we're essentially understanding people, and we know that people are driven by emotions. We make decisions by emotions. So it's the emotions that drive our behaviour, but it's the strong emotions that change our behaviour. And so when we're analysing people to predict how they will behave, we're analysing emotions in the content that they're engaging with online, which is the internet. So we're using a massive data set. It's called the internet. And so every single day, we know that 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is being created.
Quintillion. Oh my gosh.
A quintillion is a lot of data. A quintillion is 10 to the power of 18. So imagine 1 with 18 zeros. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is created every day.
Wow. So you go through people's social media accounts, their tweets, even to the point of going through comments left on newspaper websites under articles to get the vibe of what people are voting for.
So it's a combination of things. So because it's the internet, we have all websites, all blogs, all social media outside a firewall. So we don't go into the individual conversations because we can't do that. That's illegal or Cambridge Analytica territory, and they don't exist anymore for that reason. But what we're touching on is, you know, when you're in the privacy of your own digital screen, right, you are free to engage with the content, with the world, to understand topics and issues like elections. And that's why it's unbiased, because we're observing people's behaviour online.
So why do regular pollsters get it so wrong then? Because they don't?
I know.
Because they don't do what you do.
Well, the key thing in any opinion polling is that it's asking for people's opinions.
Yeah.
And so whether or not, you know, people tell you the truth, the problem is sometimes people don't feel comfortable telling you the truth, particularly when it comes to elections.
What are some current trends and issues in the electorate that politicians aren't paying much attention to at the moment and should be?
OK, right now the issues, they've shifted, right? So 3 weeks ago, at the start of the campaign, it was cost of living. That was the #1 issue, right? Now, the #1 issue is federal ICAC. Number 2 is politics and integrity. So people are screaming for those issues to be fixed. Now, it's very interesting that the 2 major parties don't really talk to them as much. Labor mentions it, but the Liberal Party don't talk about it as something that they are for.
They've come up with a list of ideas that they are going to expand upon after the election if they win it.
If they win it, yeah. But you still maintain that Clive Palmer's United Australian Party could throw a spanner in the works. Why do you think people are turning to the UAP, and do you reckon they'll get more votes than Pauline Hanson's One Nation?
OK. I was so interested with this UAP fact. So when we were looking at the issues, we also looked at the major parties. And so 1, I always look at, are they deeply engaging? Are they important or not? Do people care? And 2, how do people feel? So when it came to the UAP party and Clive Palmer, what was really surprising was that they actually have a lot of cut-through across the country. So their key messages around freedom, anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine, anti-being told what to do, it's actually resonating with a lot of people. And so vaccine mandate is still an issue that is quite highly important in this country.
When you say cut-through, though, is it partly because of the huge advertising spend and blitz that Clive Palmer has done? I mean, at one point he was pitching a 45-minute documentary on his policies to networks.
Yeah, there's an element of if you've got the media power behind you, you can grab attention. But attention's not the same as engagement, right? You get engagement when you're talking about issues that matter. So, yes, he's bought a lot of advertising spend. He's also got their attention, but what he's talking about still resonates. It's around that anti-lockdown freedom theme.
You say Labor isn't making an impact with voters.
It's interesting. I'm looking at Labor and the Liberals side by side. And this election is so complex because there's no clear winner. People don't feel enamoured to either of the two major parties at this stage. We're 2 weeks out and people are what I'm seeing as bobbleheading. We're bobbleheading, right? So with Labor, what's particularly interesting is that they're not cutting through because they don't have the deep emotional connection to the issues that I would expect. So in this next 2 week run, I'd expect them to talk more about integrity in federal ICAC and also climate change, which is also a very top issue for this election.
Yeah, and from your data, why are so many voters turning Teal? We're hearing a lot about that.
Okay, so my assessment is that Teal is real. So Teal is keeping this election real. The two key things that they're talking about as independents, as a cohort, number one, climate change, and number two, politics integrity, corruption.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that when we're looking at the issues, the top two issues, integrity, ICAC and climate change, that the two major parties are not talking to, well, the independents are getting the engagement.
What's your data say about the Liberal Party as well?
The Liberal Party don't rule them out. So it's a very strong brand. In fact, they're the strongest brand out of all the major parties and minor parties for this election. So whilst we have a strong brand, we also have the Scott Morrison factor. So on one hand, people deeply feel discontent towards Morrison, and some of those emotions we're seeing are fear, anger and deep dislike. However, brand Liberals is very strong. So how will people vote? We'll see.
Who knows? How often are you wrong?
Well, next week I'll be focusing on independents. I'll be looking at seat by seat and making my call as to how the numbers will fall.
May 21 is the date. You care to make a prediction now?
Now it's too early.
Too early?
We're bobbleheading still.
Yeah.
Right? So when I'm looking at this scenario, it's too early to call. You have to wait for the very last minute. So towards the end of next week, I'll be looking at seat by seat and making a call. But I'm already seeing a rise of independents because people are looking at them as a true alternative.
Right.
And
If it was tomorrow, do you have an answer?
Ooh, if it was tomorrow, I would say that it would be a Labor win with the help of the independents and the Greens. Liberals will be helped by the UAP. It will be really close, but if I had to tip it, I'd say it would be a Labor minority government.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we'll have to check in and see how your predictions went.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. A pleasure.